Let's get to those super chats. All right. Yeah, we do have quite a few. Let's start with this from Tyler Heath. When will the Flyers take the next step?
Tonight.
Okay. The long answer
tomorrow.
The long answer is that would take an entire episode. The short answer is tomorrow.
We've been trying to figure. I think honestly, the new era of Orange began when I saw that overtime winner go in.
December
Playoffs,
23rd
baby.
is the day that things will shift.
Yeah, December 23rd.
Festivus.
Yeah.
Festivus.
Festivus party is
At the
always a good
party,
game.
at the Festivus party. Okay,
Things will
I'm fine
happen.
with that. All right, let's see this next one from Tyler Heath. Farabee and Lawton. Irrelevant to me. Don't like them. All right.
You're a
Fair
fan.
enough.
You're allowed to not like players. That
I
is
don't know
fair.
what Bees ever did to you.
I will say, I do think, and Kelly, to be clear, I'm not saying you are one of these people.
Oh, no.
But I do think that some of the put Jet on this team right now rhetoric from fans is coming from a place of, I'm sick of all these dudes who have been here for a long time. Bring in the new guy who I might not hate as much.
To be fair,
I like Scott
when
Lawton.
the
I know
team-
you. I'm not saying it's you. I'm just
know.
saying I suspect that this whole Farabee and Lawton are relevant to me, don't like them, could be part of the driving
Maybe.
force behind the groundswell of get Jet on this team because I might like him. I hate these dudes.
I get why people may be tired of Lawton. Like, and again, like if you're tired of guys on this team, they've been bad for a very long time.
Yeah, it's
anyone
fair.
you're tied to that is fair. But like Lawton, to me, I always like he always has a place on my team. I think ultimately it's as a fourth liner when they're good.
Yeah.
I also think he's going to be here forever. So the whole trade Lawton thing is dead to me. They're never going to.
You've given up on it.
Well, like if you could have had a first round pick for him 2 years ago and you didn't trade him, and now he's older and you're looking at guys to replace him, why would other teams be interested in him at a high price?
Fair point.
Like just keep him if he's that important. Like we just saw the naming Coots captain video finally. And the coach goes, well, Lotz is the ultimate captain, but we're going to do this other thing. Like he's clearly basically one of the coaches. He ain't going nowhere.
Fair.
Lawton's here. I get why that might annoy some people because ultimately, like, all right, he's a bottom 6 forward. He's pretty good, but who cares? Joel Farabee's a good player.
Yeah, he's a good
Why
player.
do people hate Joel Farabee so much?
Because he was real bad the final 2 months of last year. And that's what's stuck in people's
I
heads.
get it, but like sometimes guys don't have good years.
Yeah.
And
he had 2/3 of a good year.
and he scored 20 goals. I feel like
It was actually his best statistical season in raw
I don't know.
numbers.
I'm going to see more of him before I turn the page on Joel Farabee. If you can trade him for one of the things they need, because this team's pretty well set on wingers, fine with me.
Yeah.
I'm not tied to anyone except Matvei Michkov.
Yeah,
on
in the
this
right
team.
deal,
Yeah.
I'd be willing to trade
But,
Joel
like,
Farabee. But I think Joel Farabee's a
good.
good hockey player with the potential to be significantly more than just a good hockey player.
All right.
If you disagree, Tyler, you're allowed to, though. That's part of being a fan.
What's this next one here? The name I can't pronounce. Do we remember?
W. Burrow goal.
Yeah, someone told me. He told me how to pronounce it the other day, but I forget.
Who can remember
Charlie,
these
when
things?
will the reporters stop asking every player, what did you think of Mishkov over and over every post game? Do others get annoyed by that?
We talked a little bit
talk
about
this on Friday.
I think we talked about this on Friday, but I can talk about it a little bit more.
How about that Michkov?
The short answer to the question is I think once the games become real, the first couple games, Mishkov's first goal, his first game, yes, he's going to be the main narrative. But once we start getting into the season, I don't think it'll be the Matvei Michkov show in the sense of every player. That's all we're asking about. Right now, he's a shiny new toy for us too. And not to pull back the curtain a little bit, but here's the thing. What you got to understand about writers is that we are trying to stay employed and we have bosses. Now, honestly, I've gotten essentially no pushing from above of this is what you have to write. And that's been one thing that's been great about ALLCITY and PHLY. I can tell you that in my other stop, that definitely happened where it was, hey, we're looking at the numbers and Mishkov's stories do real well, so maybe do a bunch more of them. And as long as people who want to keep their jobs are getting pressure from their bosses to do this, or maybe we might not look favorably upon your work, these questions are going to keep coming.
And to that point, no one's told me to put Mishkov's name in the title of the show. But if it makes any sense at all, I do, because I see the numbers.
Yeah.
People Google him a lot.
They sure
People
do.
YouTube search him a lot.
They sure do.
He's very intriguing.
Yes.
But once the novelty wears off, I do think it'll be like, this is a team, and not just to like, oh, well, it's good for the numbers. It's also a team that, Charlie, you create a lot of content. What's left to say about the rest of these guys? They've been here a long time.
It's a reasonable point.
Like, I know you don't like me saying they did nothing this offseason when they brought this guy over, but that's all they did.
Yeah.
The only thing different about this team from last year is this guy. Also, he's the future of the franchise. Those two things together, what the hell else? Owen, we know what Owen Tippett is. We know what Travis Konechny is.
They're
We
guys.
don't know who this guy is. He might be their best player. So
I don't
There's
think
a
it's a might.
non-zero possibility. He's already their
is
to
it
best
a
write
player.
might?
a good story, to write an interesting story about this team, I bet you the focus is on him. That's all. But I do think the novelty will eventually wear off, and it won't just be. This will continue to be the Mishkov show,
Right.
But the entire narrative around the team might not.
I think
be.
it'll die down a bit, but it is worth remembering
Yeah.
that we writers have incentives beyond like what is the best story and what will not tick off players. A lot of us have editors saying, get me more Mishkov. Just saying.
And right now, that is the best story.
Yeah.
Like two things can be true at the same time.
That's true.
All right, let's get this next one from Patrick. Jet won't know his own ceiling until he stunts on some kids in the OHL. In my opinion, athletes need to both have experience dominating and also feel like they're drowning in order to grow. Let him dominate.
Did he not stunt on anybody last season?
I think
Did he not stunting?
it is worth remembering that his production last year was just good. It wasn't like he dominated the OHL. He
Okay.
was a little bit above point per game, but it's not like he already has. It's not like he Berkeley Cattoned the OHL, where
Right.
he broke 100 points and just dominated. And say what you will about the narrative about Jet Lushenko, that he didn't have any, that much help. And Guelph was not a stacked team, but they were a playoff team. It wasn't completely barren of talent. And compare that to, say, Berkeley Catton, who also did not have that much help and scored over 100 points. So I do think that there are still things he can learn in the OHL because
Sure.
he has not yet established himself as one of the best players in the OHL yet.
Do we ever expect him to be that, though? Like, that was the idea, is if the Flyers can get up at the top of this draft, maybe a franchise center is up there. But when we were talking about where they're drafting, it's like, oh, well, Consta Hellenius is going to be a good 2C for this team, like one day, Like, is he ever going to be that? Like, is he ever going to dominate the OHL?
Yeah, that's the thing. If he doesn't dominate the OHL this season, are we having this conversation next summer and being like, well, he didn't dominate the OHL. Maybe he needs to season a bit.
Well, then maybe we have a better idea that all he might be is just a good third line center.
And at that point, is it like, well, then?
Well, if
make
that's
him that.
then I'm probably more apt to say, okay, if that's just if that is more likely to be just his ceiling, and his ceiling is just Ryan McLeod, then I would be more open to the idea next year if he looks just as good in the in next year's training camp to be like, sure, maybe we're not going to stunt his future creative development because maybe there just isn't that much more creative development for him to do because he just doesn't have that gene. Maybe.
All right, and this last one here. Oh no, there's no.
Got
this
one just under the
two
buzzer.
more.
This one from Gary B. I think this is a good dress rehearsal for Kolosov.
Yes.
He can put his money where his mouth is, quiet any doubter.
Yeah.
Exactly.
No, listen, if he's real
That's
good,
what I'm saying.
Fedotov is going to be the backup to start this year.
Yes.
But it's not
But-
as if they don't have options with Fedotov.
No.
He will clear waivers.
And
Yeah.
also, I mean, I don't think they would do it just because there were probably promises involved. But this is the thing they actually could do. I don't expect them to do it, but they could. Felix Sandstrom started out the roster.
He was here till
started
December.
out the year last year on the roster. There is precedent for this general manager to start a season with 3 goalies. If
Yep.
they really wanted to, they could keep Kolosov with the NHL team and throw him in one game every 2 weeks. They could. I don't think they will. I don't think they should, but they could.
I think it depends.
They could.
If Kolosov looks really good in the preseason action that he gets,
Mhm.
and Fedotov continues to look mostly terrifying with the flippity and the
Mostly
floppity
terrifying.
in the net.
He has not terrified me nearly as much as you.
You are very scared.
I don't like look. He
You are
makes me very
disconcerted
nervous.
watching Ivan Fedotov
I just want him to
play the
stand there
goaltending
and be
position.
large and stop the puck and stop with like throwing his body in all directions in ways that don't make any sense to me logically.
I guess I just expect, and maybe this is my bias because I'm quite small. I expect all tall people to be a little awkward.
I guess. I don't know. I'm just
I
saying,
said on the show, like, imagine if we put goalie pads on RG Tree. Like, it would look awkward.
It would look awkward.
there's nothing about Ivan Fedotov thus far that has told me no one can beat him for this backup job. And if Kolosov looks really good and you want to hang 3 of these guys around for a little while and see what happens, I'm not opposed to it.
Okay.
I think it makes sense for Kolosov to start in Lehigh and just get the starts.
It makes sense, yes.
But at some point, if they wanted to carry 3 goalies, like, all right, man, that makes more sense to me than carrying Nick Delorier as a scratch.
It does.
Like, he's going to be here. But I'm just saying,
Yes.
in terms of,
I know what you
again,
mean.
what makes sense for the future,
Right.
why not have him play every now and then in the NHL?
And again, I straight up said in that article that I wrote that was critical of the Flyers, like, you got to figure out a way to make this work. If the way to make this work is to keep Kolosov up, you know what? Yeah, you can't keep losing prospects. And if that's
No.
what you got to do, well, I get it. I would get it.
Yeah, you're on the NHL team. Will you ever play? Hard to say, but you are on the NHL team.
All right, and this last one from Linden49. Thoughts on Brinks and Farabee's play so far?
I'm loving Bobby Brink.
I think Brink's been great.
Brink's been all over the place.
Good. Yeah.
I actually had a conversation today with on the record with Scott Lawton, and Lawton brought up Brink unprompted
He looks
as someone
great.
who's had a great camp.
Yeah, he looks real good.
It seems, and this is another thing about Bobby Brink that I think really stood out in camp last year as well. And when we talk about the disparity between lineups, he's going to beat up on AHL level players.
Oh, yeah.
He is skilled. Is he an elite skilled player? No, I'm hoping he's a 60-point player one day. But he has the skill to, in these home games that we just watched, make AHL lineups look silly.
Yeah.
And that's why I think he belongs in the, like,
why he
if that's
belongs in
it,
the
if the
NHL.
only thing left for him is the NHL, like, okay, let's see what you are here, then he belongs. I just, like, I value him highly, but I'm also not, oh my God, he's been amazing. Like,
I think he's been friggin' great.
he's been very good, but I saw this last year.
That is fair.
I need to see him.
I think he looks better this year than he did last year. Does he not look better this year? I think he looks
I
better.
think he looks stronger.
I think he looks better. I think
Yeah.
he looks quicker. He looks
Yeah.
stronger, which is what you want.
Right,
And
exactly.
I love the fact, because we talked about Bobby Brink going into this camp as a guy who, hey, maybe he's not a lock to be in the starting lineup if someone outplays him. I think Bobby Brink, to his credit, because you never know how a guy's going to come into camp. You never know how he's going to approach things. He came into this camp with the idea in his head that I'm not guaranteed a spot and I got to win myself a job, even though I'm no longer waiver exempt, even though I played in the NHL most of last year. Nothing is going to be handed to me. I got to go out there and take it. And I love the fact that he came in with that mentality, because that shows me that he's motivated to take another step this year. And that makes me excited. As for Joel Farabee, I think Joel Farabee mostly has had a good camp. I think he was really good that Sunday game against the Capitals. I thought on Saturday it was a mixed bag, but
That's exactly how I was going to describe it.
But I will say this. I think it was primarily a game where he did mostly good things with one really, really bad mistake, which was the turnover that led to the shorthanded goal. But, and this is worth remembering, there is an alternate universe where the great pass that he made 30 seconds before that turnover to Sean Couturier, and he was staring at a wide open net and for some reason decided to pass.
Why did he pass that?
If Coots puts that puck into the net, Joel Farabee never has the opportunity to have that awful turnover. And then we're talking about Joel Farabee having had a great game.
I also don't really care that much that his camp has been kind of a mixed bag, because like he's not trying to win a spot. Like he's on the team. So much like you said,
that's fair, but also John Tortorella is his coach, and like I don't think Joel Farabee is like
he's not
guy. I don't think he's 100%
a
a lock not to be scratched for game one if Torts wants to be Torts.
That's fair.
And that's and we saw last year, one mistake, while it might only be one mistake, it's enough for you to play 36 seconds and never again.
That's
if you're not one of Torts' guys.
If you're not one of his guys, absolutely.
We all silly like the mayor.